going to paint this without using a compressor and without using rattle cans. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Random Rod Shop, folks. Well, if you've been watching, you know there's a lot of projects going on in the background. And I've been trying to get this 67 Camaro down on its wheels. You know, we put a floor pan in it. We put basically everything from the dash to the rear valence is all new sheet metal. You know, quarters, rockers, floor, frame, the whole thing, firewall. Anyway, I'm ready to get this thing on wheels. So today we're going to paint the front crossmember, or the front subframe, so that I can put some wheels on this thing. I've got all new suspension components upstairs that I've been gathering over time, so I thought it would be interesting. I thought you guys find it interesting. We're going to paint this thing today with my homemade, you know, vacuum cleaner Turbine paint sprayer thingy. Let's do a walk around. So here it is. Looks impressive, don't it? It's sitting on a Troy built, you know, gasoline pressure washer cart, scrap plywood. Let's open it up and see what's inside. What I've got here is, this is a 6-stage vacuum cleaner motor, and this is just a single-stage vacuum cleaner motor. So what I've got is basically just a vacuum cleaner motor, and you hook your sprayer hose up to here. I've got a pressure gauge hooked up to this thing just so I can see what kind of pressure the gun is running. And this 6-stage actually has a high and low speed. So at low speed, it can put out somewhere around 6 to 8 pounds of pressure, and at high speed, it can put out 10 to 12. If you deadhead it, it's pretty close to 8 and 12. Let me see if I can show you how the air flows in this thing. So you see my pot on top. So I've just got a shop vac filter on top, and this filters the incoming air. It filters the cooling air for the motor, and it also filters the air that the impellers suck in to generate the outlet flow. Take this thing off. I'm gonna get the camera down in here, and maybe you can see this. So this is actually going down to the inlet side of the motor, of the fan. You can see that pipe comes in from the side, and it fishes right up to the inlet side of the fan. All the way down at the bottom, that's the top of the motor. So the inlet air comes in and helps cool the motor and supplies air to the fan itself. At a high level, that's all there is to it. Now you might be asking, what's this other contraption on the back here? Well, as it turns out, when you turn this thing on high, temperature gets pretty warm. I put that on there because, you know, I got one of those Harbor Freight temperature gun things. I was measuring the temperature of the outlet air. Well, basically I was measuring the temperature of the housing right here. And that thing, I don't know how hot it'd get, but it'd get up to 120, 130 degrees. Now, I suppose that wouldn't be bad if the weather was a little cooler and you wanted warm air going in there. But yeah, that's a little warm to be trying to keep a wet, you know, a wet edge on your paint. So normally I run it on low speed just to keep the temperature down. I put this extra fan on here, and it blows air around the body of that 6-stage fan, you know, the primary fan, it blows air around and it comes out on this side. So when I'm running it, this fan is running to cool the, you know, to cool the main fan, and obviously the main fan's running. Now that thing really is that simple. Now that you don't need a 6-stage fan. If I had to do it over again, given how hot that high-speed fan works, yeah, I'd probably go with a 4 or 5-stage. I think, because as it turns out, 8 PSI actually works pretty well. Now it's not a SATA or a Tech Pro or whatever the new DeVilbiss is, but it does a good job. It'll lay down a pretty fine bead. Now, let me show you the gun. You can't use a regular spray gun with this thing. Also, the airline I use, it isn't a compressed airline. The airline I use is a full 3/4 inch garden hose. That way you don't get it, you want to minimize the airdrop across your as much as possible, because you don't have that much pressure to start with. So, yep, I don't know if I got that at Lowe's or whatever, but that's just the garden hose. 3/4 inch, not the 5/8 stuff. And I got a quick connect on here to go to the gun. Let me show you the gun. All right, so the gun is actually it's a specialized gun for low pressure low pressure painting. That end, let me get you a compressed air line fitting. So this it's just a, you know, tire inflation air chuck. Here's the one for the paint system, for this paint gun. Now, if you're running a normal paint gun, it'll have this type of fitting on it. That won't give you enough pressure on this to paint with this system. The other way this thing kind of helps out the whole painting system is it actually takes pressure off this side of the gun and pushes it up on the top side of your paint, so it's actually trying to help the paint go through in addition to, you know, the air coming in. Other than that, it's just a basic paint gun. This is made by Spray Fine. I don't see anything on, yeah, there we go. It's made by Spray Fine, and near as I can tell, there may be somebody else that makes this gun, but I haven't run across them. I can't believe somebody else doesn't make it. If I remember right, Apollo, I think it was Apollo, got the patents on this thing. The guy that started, I'm pretty sure it was Apollo, but if I'm wrong, somebody will correct me on this one. Anyway, in the late 60s, early 70s, he got the patent on this type of spray rig. And if you guys, any of you guys into home construction or something, Graco's made a turbine sprayer for a long time, and now I suspect that Fuji is the one that's kind of the top brand. Apollo still makes them, but I see more of the Fujis running around. Anyway, the guy that kind of come up with this, he had a grand vision in his head that he was going to take over the auto body world by supplying turbine paint sprayers to the body shops. Never really took off. You know, the obvious advantages to this is you don't need a compressor, you don't need a water separator, because warm, dry air comes out of this thing. I get warm, dry air, and if you filter it good, it's clean, warm, dry air. Sounds like a match made in heaven for a body shop, don't it? The downside is, because it runs at such low pressure, this thing can't paint a fender probably as fast as a SATA can paint a whole car. And even if you go back to the whole, you know, the Bink sprayers that have the can on the bottom, yeah, I don't know. I used to at a dealership, used to paint John Deere tractors, and it's been a while, but I seem to think we cranked that up to like 50 to 60 pounds. It put out some paint. Atomization wasn't as good as nowadays, but it did a good job for a tractor. And actually, it'd probably do a great job for the stuff I work on. So, anyway, that's the biggest problem. It's not because there's any other, mechanical difficulties to it or complications. It's really in my mind, for a home shop, this thing does a really good job. But it doesn't do anything fast. If you crank it up, now you can empty that can in, oh man, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's like, it feels like you can empty that entire pot in like 2 minutes if you want. This is a 2.0 needle. Now I've got we're just going to paint the cross member or the subframe today. So this needle will be fine for that subframe. I've got a 1.0 needle that gives you a little better, you can adjust that flow a little better. With this 2.0, basically you got to crank this thing in a long ways. Otherwise, it's like dumping a can of paint on it. It will empty this thing in a hurry. But the atomization sucks. So yeah. Anyway, that's the reason it never took off. But that's the reason why carpenters and guys, they spray varnish and all finishes on woodworking stuff. This works great. I like it because it's not complicated, right? And usually I'm just not in that big a hurry. So yeah, the whole car is kind of challenging. I will tell you that. You really need somebody to mix paint and have it ready so that you're ready to go. Because it's so slow that to keep the wet edge, yeah, you need to be on your toes to paint an entire car with this. My 71 pickup I painted with this. I was in a hurry to paint that thing. It must have been, it was in the middle of summer, out in the driveway, and I didn't have any mineral spirits. And this is what we're going to use today. We're going to use acetone, but yeah, acetone in hot weather is not happy. And acetone in direct sun, it's not happy. Anyway, my pickup has a matte paint finish. So, not a great idea all the way around. But the pickup's painted. Everybody seems to think it looks good as a matte finish, so okay, well, we'll take it. Anyway, we're going to paint the cross member, or I keep saying cross member. We're going to paint the subframe today, and I'm going to use acetone because all I want to do is just get it black. And I thought you guys would find it interesting to talk about this turbine sprayer. I'm serious in that this is a great DIY turbine sprayer. I don't know what the cost of the vacuum motors are anymore. I built this one, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. May even be, let's see. Yeah, I built this one about 5 or 6 years ago. And I love it. I've painted a lot of stuff with it. All right, let me turn this thing on and you can hear it. So I'll turn on the cooling fan first. Let me put the wing nuts back on. And for the most part, I've had this outside. Filter stays pretty clean. The one thing I forgot is because this is pretty low velocity and low pressure, you don't get and this was one of the selling points. The guy that started it. This is one of his selling points also is that you don't get a lot of bounce back, right? You don't get like the old Binks guns. They would fog up. I don't know what the deposition rate of the paint was. It seems to me. I remember reading somewhere or something, they were like 30 or 40%. That feels right because, man, they would fog up the building in a heartbeat. And as the gun's gotten better, they've gotten better, but I'm not sure they can beat this turbine sprayer, because most of the paint, because it's moving so slow, most of the paint sticks. The biggest problem with these is the atomization. I've been waiting to see if, you know, somebody come out with a updated gun, because this, I don't know that this thing's been changed in 20 years or plus. I don't know if this thing's been changed. But the atomization is the issue. I mean, you can crank it up, you get paint out, but you lose your atomization on it. So you got to keep that thing cranked in. Anyway, let me turn on the cooling fan. Turn on the main fan. So it's not the quietest, but that's all there is to it. No other accessories required. All right. Well, let's, I'm just going to spray Rustoleum on this thing, and I'm not going to use a hardener on it. The sun's shining out there. I think it'll probably dry. I've already put some Rustoleum, you know, that red primer, rusty metal. Just brushed it on. And so I've got the subframe all coated with this red primer. And it's been drying for a couple hours out there in the sun. Hopefully it's going to be dry. Anyway, I'm going to mix up a cup of the black paint and move this stuff outside. And I'll find my notes somewhere so I can figure out how I mixed the acetone last time. So I'll let you know. Sorry, I forgot to adjust the camera when I was raised the tractor up and I was painting it. All right, it's black. Let's go clean the gun up. I noticed when I was painting it, that seal has gotten hard. So I need to get another seal. This thing's not supposed to leak. All right, got the gun rinsed out. It's been sitting out there for a few minutes. Let's go have a look at it. Well, it looks like it was painted outside with not a whole lot of prep, but I think it will work for what it is. All right. So that's the vacuum cleaner paint sprayer. I like it because it is really portable. And if you do a better job of prepping it, and you don't do it outside, it paints pretty good. Like I said, it's just not fast. But you don't need a compressor. You don't need to worry about an air dryer or water dryer. You don't have to worry about any of the normal stuff, by and large, that you have to worry about with a normal paint rig. It's pretty fast. Actually, it's really fast to get set up and paint. Like always, or like any other paint job, the prep is where all the time is. Before I go, let me and if I can remember who it was, one of the subscribers, when I was mentioning a video that if you get one of these paint shakers, you want to make sure you get the springs. And I'd mounted it on a tire, and he said that him and his dad had mounted it on 3 tires. And it seemed to work pretty good. I'm not at 3 tires yet, but at this point, I did add another tire. Now that it's still not there, and I suspect he was right. 3 tires is probably what you need. That's an improvement. That additional springiness of that other tire kind of took away the rotational force that thing had. I'm not sure that if I put locking wheels on that little cart, that the locking wheels wouldn't be enough, because it doesn't move much now. It's kind of angled there because the tire I got on there is it'd been sitting flat for a while, so it may have one side that is not as good as the rest of the tires. Anyway, it seems to work, and I appreciate the assistance. All right, well, I appreciate you watching. If you're subscribed, I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and make a comment. And until next time, I'm Random at RandomRodShop, and I'm out of here. What do you think, guys? I think it looks pretty cool. Leave a comment.